Hey guys, Zen here, and today we're back with a major news update for Rainbow Six Siege. Today we're gonna jump in with the latest, but we're also talking Nighthaven, and Kali is the CEO. Roll it.
Friendly last operator standing.
Hi, how are you?
Oh my god.
Enemy down!
10 seconds left.
Let's go! Oh my god. So yeah, easy clap. In any case, first up, we're talking about a few operators. You guys see the title, you see the thumbnail, let's get into this. Of course, today we're pouring over the designer's notes, and they begin by talking about a few shotguns in the M12 for Caveira. The devs increased the damage of her M12 SMG by 4, so it's now 40 instead of 36. They say that it's mainly because players prefer using her Louision's pistol and find little reason to actually use the SMG. Most players understand that Caveira is a close and personal operator. Picking the SMG in her case is tough because you really don't want to get into a gunfight facing off against the attacker's assault rifles. Caveira's best loadout will most likely always be her shotgun because she's best played in those mid to close range engagements. The pistol takes care of mid range and the shotgun for those really close situations. Finding the perfect scenario where bringing the SMG makes sense isn't so simple with Caveira, and it's interesting to see the devs wanting more out of her SMG. Now, I like this topic because I think this is one of the only times Caveira's SMG has been in the spotlight and under the microscope since her release. Her Louision has gone through a ton of balancing over time, from damage to bullet drop off and all of that, and hopefully with this buff to the SMG, they don't see the need to nerf the pistol yet again, because where it stands, I think the community feels comfortable with it. The last thing to note is that of course Cav is a roamer, possibly the ultimate roamer with her silent ability, and going with the shotgun gives you breaching utility, which in a lot of cases can lead to an escape when things get sticky. Altogether, I think this just rounds Caveira out and gives her more options, but I don't think this will change much for those who main her for the reasons we discussed here. Next, we're back here talking about Ela, an operator constantly being tweaked, and it's because her shotgun nerf and the reasoning behind it have been detailed. We have recently gone over this, but I'd like to give the devs the floor with this change now that it's here. They say Ela's FO12 is very strong and frustrating, mostly for console players, but on PC as well. She is targeted by operator bans by console players, and when she is not, her pick rate is very high. This weapon should be more in line with other semi-automatic shotguns. We also want to reduce her ban rate and how frustrating Ela can be. Guys, now what's kind of interesting about this is that the lead reason for the change is frustration, and I feel like that's been a theme for balance lately. Yes, there is some data to back the nerfs and buffs and of course ban rates, but with a lot of these operators, it's the level of frustration they bring against the opposing team that helps push the devs to make a change. Jackal is another operator whose entire rework is based on not being as frustrating to play against. Another operator on this spike was of course Blitz, because even when he was at his lowest as far as win rate and pick rate, I'm sure some of you guys remember this period, he was receiving more and more nerfs because of how frustrating he was, even if he wasn't so strong. Now, to my knowledge, Ela's shotgun hasn't changed much since her release. I think it's more popular now because of all the nerfs that have hit the Scorpion, but otherwise it's always been this powerful. I will say that if you are in close range, this weapon just melts. There is no denying it, and it happens fast. Pair this with her Gersmot gadget, which slows the enemy and prevents sprinting. It synergizes well and is tough to get away from. Now, just being honest, I am part of team #buffEla, because if we are nerfing the shotgun, I think the Scorpion could use some love. The recoil is comparable to the SMG-11, which would be fine considering both have a high fire rate, but the SMG-11 is a secondary and the Scorpion is Ela's primary, so I'd say at the very least a recoil buff is in order. Finally, for weapons, two more updates. The SAS-G, the Russian shotgun, has an increased spread and will be less accurate. Like the FO12, this will make it harder to stay on target while firing, so getting really close will be more important than ever. And also, of course, the Boss G now has the ACOG. The devs say it's mainly driven by the underperformance of the weapon, and they'll continue to monitor it on both Dokkaebi and Vigil for the future. Now, guys, even though the Boss G finally has an ACOG, it's kind of strange that it ultimately came out of nowhere. Vigil and Dokkaebi have been solid and balanced ops for a while, and the big biggest change to either of them was recently giving Dokkaebi frags. Outside of that, they've been pretty sound in the meta. I think it's possible we'll see an op in year 5 with access to the Boss G, and it could also be said that because this probably won't change much about Dokkaebi and Vigil, it might be a way to balance the loadout of the future op. Of course, I'm reaching a little bit, but you know me guys, there's always a little more behind the curtain, and now that reused weapons seem to be a common thing in Siege, I really wouldn't be surprised. If leaks are to be true, next year we should be seeing an operator with the G36C as well as the MP5, so there is definitely room for more, and so we'll just have to wait and see. Moving on, we can look at Kaid and his most recent buff. This one is major, guys. As you guys can see, the radius of the Electric Claw has been increased substantially, and what's more is that they've actually addressed the third Electric Claw controversy. From Ubisoft, a wider radius instead of a third Electric Claw is more comfortable for attackers to handle, as it won't require any extra gadgets to counter. The activation speed still allows for tricking, and the return of his barbed wires should lead to more creative setups. Kaid's loadout has gone through several adjustments. This more cautious step-by-step approach gives enough time for our community to explore all its potential. Now, for the most part, I agree, and of course this buff is a magical time for me personally. I think there's going to be a lot more Kaid players, but as they say, this step-by-step approach is a little off-putting for me personally. Constantly changing the loadouts of an operator makes it difficult to get comfortable and learn every little thing about them, and with Kaid in particular, his loadout has changed in some way at least once per season since release, whether that's a weapon buff or a nerf, and so being consistent through this time isn't so simple. Ultimately, this is great though. This allows Kaid to better stack up to Bandit and also gives him back his trap utility, which was an amazing part of his kit, and it's back now that he's got barbed wire again. I genuinely believe this makes Kaid one of those must-pick operators on defense. Being able to shock 3 walls all at once is a big advantage, and tricking is still possible as well, and so with shifting tides, Kaid will be ready. Other than that, Warden is getting a C4 replacing his barbed wire, and yeah, C4 is always good, but we all know what Warden needs. He needs pretty much exactly what Glaz is getting, which is being able to see through smoke without needing to be still. The new mechanic for Glaz is a great improvement and executed well, so I'm a little curious why this isn't being implemented for Warden. But Ubisoft does say there is more in store for Warden, and details will come soon. All in all, a major patch and a lot of sound updates that will change the meta quite a bit next season. When you add the Jackal rework to the mix and account for Jaeger 2.0 with Wamai, the game is going to feel very different in Shifting Tides, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. So what change are you most looking forward to in Shifting Tides? Is it the Jackal rework, the big buff to Kaid, or something else? Let us know down below. Moving on, guys, we can speak on Nighthaven, because apparently there's a big story being developed for year 5, and Nighthaven will be a big part of it. So for those of you who don't know, back where Kali is from, they don't allow women to join combat units, and so she left the military and started her own private military company called Nighthaven, signing multi-million-dollar contracts for their services. This is a serious business, and for those unaware, Wamai actually works for Kali and Nighthaven. Now, that's just the backstory, but apparently this will be an entire story arc over all of year 5. What this means as a player is a new experience we've never really had before. We have seen something similar with Outbreak. Ultimately, this was a mode and an event, but the all of year 3 season 1 was based around it, including both Lion and Finka, so there's the potential we see more operatives from Nighthaven being introduced next year, or even all of next year. Nighthaven deals with overseas operations, and so seeing operators from other CTUs and countries through Nighthaven is a big possibility. If you can't tell, there are a lot of unanswered mysteries around this company and how it'll affect year 5, but also Team Rainbow. I suppose a collaboration could be in order for the two units, and hey, maybe they could target the White Mask clan, the bad guys from Terrorist Hunt, you know, the whole reason we're doing this. All in all, this is a lot to take in, but at some point, you kind of have to see it coming because Ubisoft is taking the lore very serious here, and that doesn't seem to be letting up. Finally here, guys, we have a closer look at the rework to Theme Park. It's a lot smaller than the original, and it's mainly because Ubisoft went on in and took out the train area. Now, inside of the map, it's immediately noticeable. The map feels much more put together, and without the train, there isn't that one big traffic area that everyone pulls to. So the gunfights feel much more spread out, but it makes all of the difference outside of the map. Now that it's gone, you begin to realize how accessible the train was from the outside of the map, It's one of the main ways to get in. It's also one of the ways to easily get spawn peeked, and so the map feels totally different now that they've made all of these adjustments. But yeah, guys, that's the video and everything I wanted to talk about. Give me your thoughts here. What do you think about the operator balancing we'll be seeing next season? But also, what do you see coming with Nighthaven? Leave it all in a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Thanks for watching. I'm out.